Hello. The eighth and final episode of Season 2 focused mostly on the Lioness team's changing objective, which was to prevent two Chinese nuclear scientists traveling in a Turkish military convoy from reaching Iran's Isfahan nuclear base. Meanwhile, in San Jose, Costa Rica, Byron and Caitlin persuaded Josie's father Pablo to join them in exchange for the ability to oversee his brother Alvaro's business from the United States while maintaining the protection he might enjoy in Mexico. Pablo thus arranged a meeting with his brother at Alvaro's heavily guarded estate. After he, Caitlin, and Kyle barely made it past the private contractors in charge of security, Byron slipped Pablo a revolver and shot his sibling in the head. Byron wailed on their return flight, partly in reaction to the cold-blooded murder, but also because so little will change despite their efforts. The plan in Iran was for Josie and door gunner Cruz to intercept the Turkish convoy in a helicopter, while Cody, played by series creator Taylor Sheridan, and another Cody, would provide sniper cover from the ground. Josie made two solid, explosive passes at the convoy, but her bird was hit by hostile fire. As a result, the helicopter crashed, leaving Josie confused and with a severely injured left leg. When Joe and the QRF team learned about the downed bird, they raced to the crash site, where they and Cody exchanged gunfire with the approaching Iranian forces. Cruz, meanwhile, assisted Josie in hobbling to somewhat higher ground, where they and the remainder of the outmanned and outgunned QRF unit took cover behind some stones. With CAS, close air support, and the two Delta teams still many minutes away, Joe and his crew did everything they could to kill off undesirable guys one by one, but as more combatant forces poured out of arriving transports, the QRF began to take hits. Tucker received a bullet to the leg. Bobby's ricochet grazed her face. Tex's in the belly. Two cups were also hit. Things seemed terrible, so Joe confirmed that Josie still had a pistol on her and instructed her to fire it on Joe and others before they were captured/tortured. As the grim conclusion drew nearer, Josie let out a loud howl, and Joe muttered, "Love you," to her distant family. But then the high-pitched whooshing of CAS pierced the air, and the approaching bird battered the earth below with missile after missile, plus hundreds of railgun rounds, until the menace was completely neutralized. Medics gathered later at the hangar to assess the wounded, which included many arterial GSWs, Josie's shattered tip fib, and other injuries. However, it appears that everyone will survive. Cruz reflected on the team's close call, telling Joe, "If I had a family, kids, I would have sent a missile, to avoid the possibility of future agony," I believe she meant. Joe shook her head, "No, you would not." Joe stood and looked at the injured all around her. We subsequently spotted her being dropped off outside her house, looking obviously tired. Given the last words she had with Neil, she may be nervous about the welcome she will receive. But there he was, at the top of the walk, greeting her. "Wasn't sure you were coming home." Joe replied, "I wasn't sure I still had one to come home to." "Joe, you always have someone to come home to," Neil comforted his wife as they slid inside the front door and their ecstatic daughters met Mom.